Like a lot of people, you've put a lot on hold. Eating in restaurants, praying in your house of worship, attending sporting events, all to protect your health. So as we all start to get back, the same people who have been protecting your health all along are the people doing the most to keep your health safe. Always. We're open for emergency care and for appointments safely for you. CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial.
That's a fantastic story that new business, those new jobs, that new industry is in Lufkin because somebody was so impressed by the quality of person that they met, the people that are here.
And it started with the guy at the airport.
Welcome to Connect, connecting business to the community. My name is Tara Watson-Watkins, and I'm President and CEO of the Lufkin Angelina County Chamber of Commerce. And I'm joined by my co-host, Blake Pollino of BP Media Group. How are you, Blake?
I'm great. Great to be here. Super excited about this episode of the podcast. So we are having Tim Stacy from Twin Discs, brand new manufacturing company here in Lufkin and Angelina County. And we're going to talk to him all about his background, manufacturing, what it's like to get this next generation involved in manufacturing, and how that's really changing our community. So let's jump right into that episode now.
Well, we are thrilled today to have Tim Stacy here, and we are excited to learn about Twin Disc and how it's impacting Lufkin and Angelina County, and the fact that you're from here and you've worked here a long time. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, let the listeners know who you are and your background.
All right. So my name is Tim Stacy. I grew up in Houston, and my senior year of high school, I was set up to go to Texas A&M, and at the last moment, I agreed to go with a guy on senior day to Stephen F. Austin, just to go with him and, tag along. And I fell in love with the campus and switched and decided to go to SFA. And so I think that was a great move on my part. It was a beautiful campus, and I felt like I got a great education there. Being a smaller university, I thought, maybe you wouldn't just be a number, you wouldn't be insignificant, and I found that to be true. And my junior year of college, I found out about Lufkin Industries through a guy named Bob Pollino. He was the president of the company, and he came and talked to a panel of students, and we got to ask questions, not just him, a lot of vice presidents from different companies and presidents, and I took a bold step. I was kind of shy, and I decided to introduce myself after the event. And of course, in his jovial way, he thanked me, and he gave me his card. And I told him I was interested in living in Lufkin, and I think he thought I wanted to be in sales. So he says, "We don't have many salesmen in Lufkin. They're all around the world, but not in Lufkin." I said, No, I'm in production management. He said, "Oh, okay." And he wrote this guy's name on the back of a card. Says, "You give this guy a call." And it was Frank Stevenson who became the president after him. So I went into the Lufkin Industries with a card from the president with the future president on the back, and it was just because I met him, at the SFA. 37 years later, I've had a great career at Lufkin, spent 5-6 years in France overseas with Lufkin, started was part of the company there for 6 years, was the general manager there for a while, and then came back to Lufkin, and it was just a great career. So I've enjoyed my time here immensely. Awesome. And being in East Texas has been really great.
And you've raised a family here, and now they're back here.
Right? Yeah. I've got two children here, one in the Navy and one in Fort Worth.
Nice.
Culinary.
Awesome.
Professional. So,
cool.
We're kind of spread out now. Got three grandkids, Olivia, Heidi, and Isaac.
Awesome.
From 3 to almost 1. I think this week he'll be 1. So.
Wow.
The fun ages.
That's right.
Yeah. It is a lot of fun.
I have 2 little ones. We're right in that age group right now, just getting out of that age, and it's a blast. So tell us about now. So where's that brought you to kind of today?
All right. Well, about 2 years ago, it was September 4th when I switched, but about 2 years ago, I get a call from D. Winston. And he called me up and says, hey, we're looking to put a sawmill here in East Texas. We're thinking about the Kelties area where the original family sawmill was. He says, but we heard y'all may be selling some of your property out, the Buck Creek facility and all. And he says, do you know who I need to talk to? And so I got to checking around and got him with the right guy at Baker Hughes. And OD, he cut a deal in 28 days. I think that's a record for General Electric. And
that's not surprising. No,
but
Not at all.
he really did a number there. And I mentioned that because he bought that facility. And then in between that time frame, Twin Disc came to town, working with Bob Sanford and the Economic Development Group. And so they got to meet Dee and some other people, and I think Dee thought about me after we got to know each other from the other transaction, and he called me up and says, hey, would you be interested in me throwing your name in the hat? And I thought, well, I've been with Lufkin all this time, but had gone through the GE acquisition and all the restructuring, so that was quite difficult. And I thought, at this point in my career, it'd be great to be part of building something new instead of continuing to lay off and tear down and what had happened there. So I said, well, sure, throw my name in the hat. And the next thing I know, there's the chief operating officer, a guy named Mac Moore, called me up and wanted to fly down in their corporate plane and meet me for dinner at Manhattan's.
See, again, another reason
There you
to
go.
promote our Angelina County Airport.
That's
there you
exactly
go.
right.
Hey, I've got something to say about that. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you here in a minute. But anyway, so Mac Moore met me at Manhattan's. He had the flu that night.
Oh gosh!
But we had a good discussion, and I said, you want to come see my plant here at Lufkin Industries? And he said, well, sure.
Yeah.
So even though he was sick, he walked around on second shift with me out in the plant. And of course, a big gear for Twin Disc is like this big around. He saw some that would barely fit in this room at Lufkin Industries, and he's, whoa, so it was pretty good for me to show him what we do here.
Sure.
Right.
And to know that we know that technology. And so the next thing I know, he's calling me back saying they'd like for me to come to Racine and visit and talk to their executive team. And
Racine, Wisconsin is where their headquarters.
Racine, Wisconsin. And, coming from Texas and East Texas, I'm going, what are these Wisconsin people like? I thought, Yankees from the north must be like New Yorkers. I'm just not sure about this. And when I got there, they're like northern Texans.
Yeah.
Friendliest people, Midwesterners. I guess I didn't understand what that was all about.
Right.
Hardworking, just good people. Found out one of their holidays was opening day of deer season. So
Nice.
it's like,
Hey,
yes.
That works.
those are some values that line up real well.
They
with East
line
Texas.
up very, very well. So, I really wasn't looking for a job when I went. And Karen and I prayed about it and just whatever was the right thing to do. And if I felt good about it, we'd go with it. And I left there and felt really, really good. In fact, I thought about a connection that may be there, and I was thinking on the plane coming home, I think I know of a connection. And I went home and got my old Lufkin Industries history book about it was sawdust to oil. And in the third chapter, it talks about W.C. Trout, and he was the inventor of the pump jack. So when you think of Texas, you think of oil, you think of the pumping unit, and that was Lufkin, Texas, where it was invented. And but I remembered he was not from around here. And I remembered him talking about the friendly people in Lufkin. And when I talked to John Batten, who's our CEO now, he was saying the same thing. That's what triggered my mind. He was talking about Lufkin exactly the way W.C. Trout talked about Lufkin when he came. What's interesting, the title of that chapter is The Man from Milwaukee.
That's
so
awesome.
W.C. Trout was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is about 20 minutes from where Twin Disc has their plant.
That's awesome.
So I thought, 100 plus years later,
That's right. Here we are again.
here we are again.
That's right.
So it's pretty cool.
Full circle.
Pretty cool.
That's
So-
awesome.
And so then to get back to the airport, John Batten, when he was talking about how friendly people were, there were probably 1,000 cities looking to host Twin Disc, and he had heard about what had gone on with the layoffs here and the number of industries that had been shut down and the workforce, the labor pool that may be available. And so he came to Lufkin to check it out, and he flew into the airport, and the nicest man met him at the door. Just when he opened up the door, he said, from that point, he was so nice to me. I wish I remember the guy's. I don't know the guy's name, but friendly guy. And from that point on, he said, "This is the place I need to be."
Wow.
And the way Economic Development Group took care of him, and just the other day we had a meeting with the city. They had all of the leaders here, and John was here with me looking at the facility now. And they were continually asking him, what can we do for you? How can we help you? And he says, this is blowing me away. He says, when I go back home, the question is always, what can you do for the city? And here y'all are asking what you can do for us.
Yeah.
And that was just, he said, I'm walking away from here, enthusiastic about the future. And so that's just a tribute to our leadership here in Lufkin, I think.
That's a fantastic story that new business, those new jobs, that new industry is in Lufkin because somebody was so impressed by the quality of person that they met, the people that are here.
And it started with the guy at the airport.
I think that's so important that we teach people about hospitality because you never know when you're going to be the only person that they meet when they come into our community.
That's correct.
And that you're going to leave the lasting impression that could bring a multi-billion-dollar company to our area.
Unreal.
Right.
It's so important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about Twin Discs. Tell us a little bit about the company, about kind of what y'all do, what the operations are like.
Sure. So the company started back in 1918, and I'm not going to get this exactly right, but the Wallace tractor was a tractor that was made there in Racine, Wisconsin, and they needed a clutch and a powered takeoff to put on the back of that tractor. That's what engages a bush hog or something on the back of your tractor. It's a PTO. And so this man, Mr. Batten, was working for that company, and they asked him to focus on developing that product. And I don't know back then, but they just spun him off and says, "You're going to start building this." And that was the birth of Twin Disc, was that man coming up with that design. And 4 generations later, John Batten, the 4th generation, is still running the company. And he brought his son the other day when they flew in, Michael Batten. And so that's 5th generation.
Well.
So he's about 15 and ready to go. He'll be ready.
Here's what your future is.
That's right. That's right. And it's a great family. So committed to the company and just the success. I mean, they've gone through ups and downs just like the rest of our businesses. And one of the things I asked John when I was interviewing with him, I said, "Do you have any thoughts of selling Twin Disc? If you do, just take my name off the list now. I don't want to go through that again."
Right.
And he said, "Absolutely not. They'll have to pry this out of my hands."
Right.
And so that made me feel good. And it's really a family type company, just like Lufkin Industries was in the Bob Pollin, Frank Stevenson era. And so that's what really appealed to me.
Well, and now your son works with you, isn't that correct?
He does.
Yeah.
He does. What was crazy about that is my daughter-in-law, Lauren Lanyon Stacy, in case they don't know Stacy, they might know Lanyon. She was working with Bob at Economic Development when all this came about, and she was going to dinners with them and hosting them at different events. Maybe, Terry, you were there with them. But so she invited my son, Caleb, her husband, to go to some of these events, and he got to talking to the VP of engineering and, of course, the CEO, and they're going, "Who is this kid? He knows all the suppliers around. He knows about gears. He knows about forgings and castings and bearings and all the stuff that we do at Twin Disc." And so they met him long before they met me.
Yeah.
And so so I didn't really have a lot to do with his hiring on at Twin Disc. Once they hired me, they hired him. So
That's
I guess
awesome.
he's employee number 2.
That's great.
But it's
The
been
family
great.
tradition continues.
Yeah, it's really neat to Caleb had worked with me at Lufkin Industries for a while. Again, independent of me, but it's neat to see your kids doing well. And
It's awesome.
So yeah, that's what happened there.
During a medical emergency, every minute matters. That's why at Woodland Heights Medical Center, you'll find less waiting where you need it most, in our emergency room. In fact, we will work diligently to have you initially seen by a medical professional in 30 minutes or less. And because we're a full-service hospital, we can provide more care if you need it. Less waiting, faster care. Only at Woodland Heights Medical Center. Woodland Heights Medical Center is owned in part by physicians.
Are you interested in buying or selling real estate? I'm Becky Cota, broker and co-owner with my husband Kevin here at Century 21 Cota Realty. We have 21 agents that are highly trained and committed to delivering an extraordinary buying or selling experience. Contact us today to see how we can help you.
So tell us a little bit about the decision for Twin Discs to come to Lufkin.
Okay.
What was that like?
Yeah.
It's something we're really interested in talking about is local business and how it's come to be here, and you've kind of seen the other side of that coin,
Right.
Having worked at
Right.
Lufkin Industries, GE, and that really resonates with me. I went through that same career path. I worked for big businesses and big companies, and there was a point where I had an opportunity to go work for a young startup in a completely different industry, and
Right.
those worlds are so different, and
Right.
it's so refreshing. Talk to us a little bit about that and kind of how that decision
Sure.
to come to East Texas came
Sure.
about.
So Racine, Wisconsin is nestled between Chicago, Illinois, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just kind of halfway in between. And Racine is right on Lake Michigan. And the main interstate that connects Milwaukee and Chicago is probably 10 miles to the west. And so they're kind of off the beaten path now. Everybody travels up Interstate 94. And there have been several very large businesses that have come into their county. Uline is big industrial business. Amazon.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk
Yeah.
about Amazon.
Right.
And now Foxconn, who makes the majority of the
Apple.
the monitors, for screens and things. And they're needing like 10,000. I'd heard 13,000. I don't know what the number is now, but can you imagine? So Racine is probably about 200,000 people in the county. So can you imagine
No.
having three big businesses like Amazon, Uline, and Foxconn come in, what that does to your labor market?
Sure.
It's crazy.
So that's what's happened to them.
Right.
And so what you have is forklift operators making $27 an hour.
Right.
Just because there's such a
High demand
High
for
high
it.
demand for the workforce.
Sure.
And they have great community colleges. They have technical colleges, just like us. They've worked alongside the
right.
colleges to develop the trades and all. But when you can go somewhere and make $27 driving a forklift or busting your knuckles at some other place,
Sure.
what do I do? And so
Yeah.
they've had a hard time hiring good, well-trained people. So their board, Twin Disc board, several years ago said, we're going to have to find something else. And that's when they charged John with going south and seeing what he could find. And so that's really what spawned the discussion to come to this area. And again, one of John's friends was in the gear business, not with Lufkin Industries, but in the gear business. And so he knew about what had happened. So that's how John found out and came here first. And I'm just thrilled that he decided to
Yes.
stay here.
So are we.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how it happened.
Well, throughout the last few years, you and I have worked together for the East Texas Manufacturing Alliance. And for those that are not familiar with that, it is a program that was spun off through the Next Gen Partnership, which TLL Temple funded.
That's correct.
They brought in a girl from Chicago that
Yeah.
helped kind of train us on what we needed to know about Next Gen partnerships. And it's really a way for manufacturers to be able to work together to be able to know what we've got in our own pockets.
Right.
And it's a different setup. All the manufacturers sit in the middle of the table, and then all of your key people that are in the community actually sit on the outside. And the first few meetings were probably the most difficult meetings of my life, not being able to talk, because I would hear manufacturers say, well, we need this and this. And I'm like, how do you not know that we have that?
Right.
But to be able to let really the manufacturers figure out what we have and what they need, and then to be able to allow the extra people to come forward and to put all of that together. We've got 88 manufacturers between Lufkin and Nacogdoches.
Right.
And that blows my mind when you think about things like that. I don't think people think of that for East Texas.
Right.
But it really started off as Lufkin Nacogdoches Manufacturing Alliance. And Tim was, kept saying, we've got to go bigger. We go bigger, go home, and we've got to go bigger. And so the name kind of changed. But you've been an integral part to watching the Manufacturing Alliance come together and continue to thrive. Stacy Hodges, who used to be at the chamber, really spearheaded it. Now she's with Junior Achievement, but continues to spearhead it.
That's right.
Because it's a perfect alignment with Junior Achievement and manufacturing jobs and kids. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the Manufacturing Alliance and...
Sure. It's always been a passion of mine to reach the next generation. And so I've been involved in mentor programs. Dr. Kent had one going that I was with for 4 or 5 years, where we went to Diboll and would talk to young kids about manufacturing and all other kinds of skill sets. But I think manufacturing has taken on we have a bad rap, number one, for layoffs. And number two, everybody thinks it's a dirty, grimy place, and they want to be involved in video games or programming video games and things like that. But what they don't realize, in manufacturing, we have all of that kind of thing. We have people that are programming parts that are made, very intricate parts for all kinds of things. All the professions, accounting, legal, nurses, administrators, managers, purchasing agents, all those are part of manufacturing. And so salesmen. So it's really a neat place to start a career. And so in East Texas, like you say, there's so many, and really, we pull from about 12 counties to come to Lufkin. So that's why I was pushing to grow it, because there's manufacturers out there and they kind of aren't heard of, or they don't have a voice. And this gives us a collective voice to talk to the universities or the community colleges or the chambers of commerce, all the different support agencies. It gives us a chance to talk with everyone, because we're always busy shipping product, so we don't have time to spend networking and things like that. So this gives us an avenue to do that. And the experts, in those fields of networking and pulling people together and connecting people are like the chambers of commerce. And so I had very little need or opportunity to spend time with the chamber before. But this is allowing us to really make those bridges. And also, what's really pretty cool is the manufacturers did not know the other manufacturers. And so here we are going outside of our communities, Houston, Dallas, India, wherever, to get products made, only to find out there are people right in our backyard that could do that for us.
Those same products.
That's one of my favorite meetings, was somebody saying, I need this, and the other guy going, we make that. And it was like, I need your name and number. And all of a sudden, money is staying local.
That's right. Right. And that's one of the things I try to tell people about manufacturing, and the reason I think it's so important for East Texas is that manufacturing is one of the few industries that actually bring new money into our community. What I mean by that is and I don't mean to slight anyone, but your doctors, your lawyers, your grocery stores, the hamburger joints, that's pretty much just swapping dollars around, just circulating the same dollar bill around. Whereas manufacturers make things that are sold far away, and so the money comes back here, new money comes back into our community to grow. So, and I've heard the statistic that for every one manufacturing job, there's like 5 service jobs that are tied to that. So when you hear 100 people laid off, you can multiply that impact in the community
Sure.
by the people, the other service jobs and their families.
Yeah.
So it's a huge thing to have manufacturing. It's huge if you lose manufacturing. So this is really an effort to bring us all together. We're working with the college, the schools. We really want to go down. I think we need to start in the junior high and start getting people excited about what's in manufacturing.
Sure.
And we actually had our first manufacturing day.
Yeah,
was it
it's great.
February, January,
It was
February?
early.
And I think we had 26 companies that had booths there, and we had others that came. And we invited about 12 high schools, had students that came. And it was so good to just interact with the students, let them see our products and machines. There were companies from Nacogdoches Center, Lufkin, quite a few different areas. Ford Travel was there, Horace Mast and all of his race cars were there.
And they brought everything so the kids could touch and feel
Right.
and get excited.
Yeah, and some of our newer companies like Angelina Forest Products and Solera is a company I didn't even know about that was there. Lufkin Industries was there. Of course, Twin Disc. We were all trying to represent. We weren't selling products. We were just selling manufacturing and what. And really, if a child comes in there and they find they don't like anything there, well, good. You check that off the list and you go look at another occupation. But if you do see something that's interesting, hey, there's a whole lot of people around that want to help you and support you. And hopefully someday we can have some apprentice programs where we get some of them in and get to really experience what manufacturing is all about.
And, we said it when we talked to Bob the other day, was that I've been so impressed with what the schools are doing and that they want to know what these manufacturers need and that they're willing to make new classes to be able to reteach the workforce that have lost jobs and want to go back to work. And that it's just been such a great partnership between Angelina College and SFA, and to be able to really see the doors that have been opened through the Manufacturing Alliance to create those jobs.
Well, in the high school superintendents.
Yeah.
Almost to a person have been coming to our meetings, totally engaged and saying, hey, whatever we can do to help you guys out. So now we're getting down into the high school where I think we really need to be, because what you want to do is get these junior high and high school students, figure out what they like, and then get them that 2-year degree if they want to become a better welder or a better plumber or whatever, instead of just going straight to work and not developing those skills.
Right.
And most of the companies will pay for you to get that additional education, if not even a 4-year degree.
And this is after going through apprenticeships or
That's right.
on-the-job training.
Yeah, if they get hired on with a company, usually some of the larger companies will pay for your 4-year degree or at least a 2-year. So you don't have to go into debt.
Yeah.
Large debt. And that's the other thing is a lot of people feel like they're not worth anything if they don't have a 4-year degree, and that's just not the case.
No.
In manufacturing, I had several people at Lufkin Industries that were in maintenance where they could do electro and mechanical work, and with the overtime and all, they were making 6-digit salaries. So it's not like you have to get that 4-year degree. There's 4-year degree people making $40,000 paying on a loan,
That's right.
student loans. So, it's another option if that's what you like to do.
right.
That's a really cool place to be. I think we're seeing a pretty dramatic shift in that right now. It's always been this, you've got to have that degree, and not to belittle education, in any way, but we've kind of hammered home, to your point, at this junior high, middle school, high school, that you have to make that decision, which first off is crazy if you look at it at that surface level. Like, you're the 16, 17-year-old kid.
Right.
You've got to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life and then go get 6 figures in debt to do that.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who are coming around to this concept that there are fantastic jobs that you can have that will allow you to work while getting that education and it being paid for by a manufacturer, or finding something that you love and doing a skilled labor job that you really enjoy and making a really good living. I mean, I think we're seeing a really big change.
A lot of people like to work with their hands.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so here's an opportunity to do that.
Sure.
And a lot of people like to program. Here's an opportunity.
Sure.
Engineering is another huge area.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, we hire all those kinds of people.
Sure.
Well, we just appreciate you being here so much and
Sure.
telling us all about Twin Disc.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
thrilled to have them in Lufkin and Angelina County, and we will continue to make sure that those airport people are
Yeah,
welcoming.
yeah.
They never
Yeah.
know who's
I'm
going to
gonna get
open the
that
door.
guy's name.
Yeah.
He needs,
We need to find, if you're
tip our
listening
hat
out
to
there
him.
and you know who this airport guy is, let
Yeah.
us know.
Yeah, give us the name.
We need to find this
I
person.
want to take him to dinner.
For
That's
sure.
right.
At the airport. Take him, get him,
That's
get him a
even
burger.
better. The hamburgers at the airport.
They're the best.
That's right.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you giving us some time and kind of letting everybody know what it is that y'all do out there and all the new opportunities and everything else that's coming along. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in again this week to listen with us. Please subscribe to the podcast. It's a huge help to us if you do. And also like and review the podcast on whatever podcatcher you're listening on. If you want to watch the video version of this podcast, you can catch us on YouTube or Facebook, where we have the podcast every week as well. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining us.